You're watching the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. I'm Tyler Jones, and on today's program, I'm going to tell you all about SGA's big night last night as the MVP gets it done again.
I'm Rylan Stiles. I'm going to tell you why you should not be concerned about the Thunder's rebounding issues of late.
I'm Jay Lamb. I'm going to talk about why you should not trade Lu Dort.
This is Locked On Thunder Squad Show, the twice-a-week show where Thunder talk gets real. No filters, no fluff, just raw takes, sharp opinions, and straight-up passion for the game. The way only Locked On Podcast Network knows how. Let's drop some dimes and squad up. The Thunder Squad Show starts now.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome in to another edition of the Thunder Squad Show. Tyler Jones, Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb here with you. Appreciate you joining us. So much to talk about on today's program. We're going to start with SGA and the big night that he had last night in Oklahoma City's overtime win over Utah as he finished with 46 points. Then we'll discuss the possibility of trading Lu Dort. Does that make sense for OKC or not? J-Dub says that he's not worried about the stretch the Thunder went through where they were 6-6 and not playing great basketball. He says that they're not superhuman. And then we'll also talk about the rebounding issues that face this team as well in our final segment of today's show. Guys, let's start with what we saw last night from the reigning MVP, SGA. Terrific. 42 minutes played because of overtime included, the third overtime game of the year for Oklahoma City. How about this? The Thunder 3-0 in overtime, by the way, this year, showing off the clutch gene. 46 points, 14 of 26 from the field. Struggled a bit from downtown, 1 of 8 from three-point range. Did a really good job of getting to the line and capitalizing. 17 of 19 there with 6 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, and a block, helping lead the Thunder to victory. Had that clutch shot there towards the end and was just unreal last night in his performance. Jeremy, we'll start with you here. Great showing from SGA here. The Thunder did not play well last night, and SGA just puts this team on his back once again. They needed him to show up, and he delivered.
Yeah, he had a great game. Like you said, he didn't shoot well from three, but for me, when I watch him play, his three ball is just, a cherry on top. He's going to get to the rim. He's going to get to the free throw line. He's going to get to the mid-range. That's his game. And when he's hitting threes, then, it's just, he's virtually unstoppable. The only thing I'm a little worried about is it's starting to look like he has to play incredible for them to win. And I didn't always feel like that. I felt like everybody's stepping up here and there. It's a collective effort, which it still is. But, I felt like you didn't rely on one person too much. Whereas now it's starting to look like if he doesn't play well, the team doesn't play well. Or if he don't get off to a fast start, the team don't get off to a fast start. That kind of scares me a little bit. But as far as him individually, he's always going to bring it. He's always going to put the ball in the hole and basically impact the game on both ends. Whether he's, they try to switch off on him, make him play defense, but he's a good defender. You can't just, score on him. He's disciplined. He keeps guys in front of him. And then obviously we know what he does on offense. Aside from scoring, getting people involved, just causing so much attention. So it's no surprise he had a big night last night. And I'm happy they pulled it out. Like you said, he had a big shot to take it to overtime. So that was a gutsy win. But I'm happy they're going through it just because they learning lessons and they know it's not going to be a cakewalk.
Before I go to Rylan, checking in the chat, contrary to popular belief, let's go ahead and dispel this conspiracy theory. We're live, all right, 13:21. Also, Andre, yes, we're here. We're in the flesh. This is me. That's Rylan. That's Jeremy. But nonetheless, just want to make that clear. Rylan, your thoughts on what SGA did last night?
He was sensational yesterday. I think that Jeremy's point is well taken because it was a great MVP level performance. It was jaw-dropping what he was able to do to still shoot 53% from the floor while going 1 for 8 from 3. Puts into perspective just how efficient his night was inside the arc. 46 points in this game. 19 trips to the free throw line, the first time to get double-digit free throws since December 5th. But you look at it, and it's like, this was a guy who came into the night questionable with knee bursitis, gets elevated to play, and has to play 42 minutes to take down the Utah Jazz. He was not anywhere close to his self on Monday against Charlotte on either end of the floor, and they got trounced by a bad Hornets team. And then Sunday, you held your opponent to 108 points in the modern era of basketball, and you could not win because Shai was not this level of Shai on Sunday. It does speak to this team right now is in such a rut offensively that they need Shai to be incredible against anybody to get a win. And so they have to get back to being more cohesive offensively. They have to get back to having other guys step up and help him get to these wins and help him get to these blowout wins over bad teams where he can rest in the fourth quarter. But whenever you are in an offensive rut, it's really nice to have the luxury of having SGA, one of the best players in the world, one of the best scorers in the world, help bail you out.
Yeah, outstanding what he was able to do with that performance. And right now, Jeremy, with the offense, as Rylan mentioned, kind of in a rut there, when you can have that type of night, when you can turn to your best player to take over like that, that's got to feel really good that he can bail you out basically at any time, that he can go off of those type of performances there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know it's times where they probably be in the game like, y'all, let's just get a stop so he can take us home. And that's always a good feeling. He got 5 good defenders or 4 good defenders around him at all times, most of the time. And if they work and just, do everything they can to get stops, like you said, yeah, it feels great to be able to know, like, come fourth quarter, come overtime, that you got somebody who is going to create a good shot for himself or for somebody else. So, you don't want to get relaxed and, just feel like, oh, we good because he's on the floor. But sometimes, he's going to demand the ball. And like you said, it's a great feeling when somebody is going to always be in attack mode and just help your team win night in and night out.
Rylan, we mentioned that Oklahoma City is 3-0 in overtime games so far in this 25 through 26 campaign. And the Thunder have sat their starters a lot in the fourth quarter of games this season. They've been able to with the big leads that they've had. And when you have games that go a little longer, like last night, Rylan, that's when the payoff is there. The fruits of your labor of having that extra rest certainly goes a long ways. I think, even though it's a small sample size, 3 games, it's no coincidence they've won all 3.
Yeah, I think that whenever you look at it, I mean, the 2 overtime games that went to double overtime to start this season were thrilling. This overtime game, what was awesome to see Shai, have that game-tying shot at the buzzer in regulation and then really carry this team in overtime to a win, hit some clutch free throws, hit some clutch shots in the mid-range and at the rim. So it is great that they can do it both ways in a way, that they can win these tight games with some late game execution that did plague them at times in the playoffs last year. You look at the late game execution, most notably game 1 against Denver, where they couldn't get the foul up 3 scenario right, and they let that game slip. You look at the game 1 against Indiana, where the Pacers were stormed back from down 12 in the fourth quarter, and they had a messy end of the fourth quarter that lost them that game 1 on their home floor. This year, they've already played more clutch time minutes than they played all of last year to really stress test themselves in the clutch. They've also had clutch games like in Memphis a couple weeks ago, where it's clutch time within 5 minutes, under 5 to go, and yet the Thunder win by like 15 points, and they blow them out in that small spurt. They are, like, for as much as you can talk down on this recent stretch, they are better in the clutch, and Shai has been the best clutch scorer in the NBA.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, and last night was another example of that, of what he was able to do there. And Jeremy, you and I, we were kind of talking offline before the show began that that Utah team, let's be frank, they're not that great of a basketball team. They gave Oklahoma City all that they could handle last night, and yet the Thunder found a way to get the job done, and that's a sign of a great team and a great player that even on your off night that you can find a way to rally and get the job done there.
Yeah, I mean, Utah doesn't have a great record, but if you look at their roster, they got talent. And I always say this, that's the NBA. Anybody could beat anybody, any night. It's one thing to go on a series with somebody, and it's one thing to just play somebody on a random weekday. So if you look at their record, yeah, they're not a good team collectively, but they got talent, they got individual talent, they got some people who really can put the ball in the hole, they got rim protectors, they got ball handlers, playmakers. They just haven't put it together. So even coming out playing a team like that, whether you're OKC or you're, the Hornets or whoever it is, no matter the record, you still got to come out, and be ready to play. And I think they was ready to play, but they just didn't put a full game together. And once you give a team some hope, a couple calls don't go your way, a couple balls go in the rim, it's like, man, now they got confidence, they got a little momentum, and now you got to try to get yourself back up to that standard, and it's hard to do that during the game. So I think they was ready, but at the end of the day, I know on the film they was probably saying, we just got to put a full game together, and their starters wouldn't have been playing in the fourth. So, but it's a good learning point. That's the league for you, and they'll learn from it.
Rylan, you were at the post-game news conference and heard from Mark Daigneault and a couple other players. Take us inside for a moment. What was kind of the feeling after this one of the win and SGA's big night? Was there excitement, sense of relief, or a little bit of both? What was kind of your takeaways?
There's a little bit of both. I mean, they were relieved that they got the win and didn't go on their first 3-game losing streak in multiple years. They were excited that they got to stress test themselves in one of these clutch scenarios and see what they were made of. And I think that there was also, to Jeremy's point, a lot of picking apart what happened, where it's like, you're always happy to win. You'd much rather win these games than lose them, but there's still a lot to learn from these games. And the players acknowledge that this is a situation that you're glad that you won, but you look at what they did after they got up by 20 points. Like the first segment of this game, they look like the old Thunder. They got up by 20. They were playing great defense. They were generating high quality shots, and they got up by 20 points. And then they just kind of felt like that ended the game at the 20-point mark, and the Utah Jazz kept coming. They had to go from being a team up 20 to a team now reeling, and they were down 1, then they got down 8 in the fourth quarter. And I think that on film, they're going to see that, it's going to take 48 minutes of consistent effort, something that this team has done this season, and of course they've done in years past. And they're going to have to get that part of the game right moving forward this week. And you can learn a lot from this win, just like you can learn a lot from the recent losses.
Yeah, no question about it. And what's ahead for Oklahoma City? You get this win against Utah here. Now you take on Memphis, and then you face Miami on Sunday before taking on the San Antonio Spurs on Tuesday. And real quick on this, Jeremy, before we kind of wrap up this segment, I know we're already looking ahead to that Spurs game next week. And, a lot of the media and everybody's already kind of talking about that next matchup. If you're Oklahoma City, though, there's still 2 more games to that. I would think that SGA and Mark Daigneault, the messaging over the next couple of days, they're not going to be thinking about that San Antonio game just yet, even as much as we're already maybe talking about it here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to emphasize. Coach Daigneault will emphasize like, look, stay in the moment. I know we want to, play those guys and prove who we are and all that, but at the end of the day, it's game by game. You don't want to look forward, not realize what's going on, then you look up and you're on another 2-game losing streak. Like, you want to just stay in the moment, keep doing those, they know what to do. Those habits, those championship habits daily, just, keep stacking days, practices, shoot-arounds, film sessions, and then go into that game the right way rather than just so anxious to play them. Like, at the end of the day, they still the defending champs. They got the best player in the world on their team. They know who they are. They just got to keep their championship habits. They'll be fine.
Should the Oklahoma City Thunder consider trading Lu Dort? Jeremy Lamb says no. We'll let him explain and react more as we continue here on the Thunder Squad Show. Stay with us. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between your subscriptions, you forget about bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. Finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Now, whether it's something like Netflix, Prime Video, maybe you have multiple subscriptions to the same thing. It's crazy because with Rocket Money, like I was shocked when they showed me I was paying twice for Prime Video that I completely forgot about it, and it saved me money, folks. I love how it tracks all my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service numbers. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals fast. RocketMoney.com/locked on. That's RocketMoney.com/locked on. RocketMoney.com/locked on. Thunder Squad Show rolls on, and we will talk all about Lu Dort here in just a moment. But before we do, I want to thank you all for making the Locked On Thunder podcast your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out the all-new Every Dayer Club. Access to ad-free audio of the Locked On Thunder podcast, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat for listeners of this show with Rylan. All you have to do, folks, is go to our website, lockedonthunder.supercast.com. That's lockedonthunder.supercast.com to join, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, guys, let's continue here now. And, you know, I'll be frank. I think I've been pretty vocal on this show, and I think most of us feel the same way, that the Thunder should not trade Lu Dort. But as a man of the people, reading what people have to say, my own friends bringing this to my attention, I felt like that it was something worth talking about today. Should the Thunder consider trading Lu Dort? Cason Wallace has played really good. You see that, you know, all the guys that play a similar role to Lu Dort on this team, and he is getting a bit older. Does it make sense to keep him around, or should they potentially move on from him, bring in another player or bring in a draft pick, whatever it may be with the trade deadline approaching? Jeremy, tell us why the Thunder should not trade Lu Dort in your opinion.
First of all, the Thunder shouldn't trade anyone simply because they've proven that their system and their personnel works. That's one. Two, Lu Dort, who's better for the team? I'm not saying no one's better than him, but who's better for the team than he is? He's a player who, yeah, he's a little streaky on the three, but he's your ultimate 3-and-D guy. He gives everything on defense. He can guard anybody defensively. He can knock down the three. He'll hit a mid-range every now and then, but he knows his role. He knows when that ball comes out, he's a spot-up shooter. On the other end, he's taking charges. He's giving his body up every night. You know, what if you trade for somebody who might shoot better but don't want to play defense or want to shoot more shots? You know, it's hard to find players with so much money involved in the league. All this, you know, people get distracted. So people might come in and be like, oh, I'm on a championship team. But then after like 10 games, it's like, all right, I don't like Shai taking all these shots. I want some more shots. I don't like Chet doing it. I need some more shots. You just never know. The grass ain't always greener. They won a championship last year. I would at least give them a chance to see if they could run it back because I feel like they've worked hard. Lu Dort has literally established himself in the league. I feel like he's worked to be able to have the opportunity to try to win again. If he
Rylan? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
my bad. If he get traded, I feel like that would be, yeah, that would be terrible. But I feel like he has a right to try to defend it.
Rylan, what say you? Do the Thunder, does it make sense to them to potentially move off from Lu Dort right now?
No, that doesn't make any sense at all right now to trade Lu Dort at the deadline, largely because you're going to have to make seismic moves in June. Whether they win the championship or they don't, you're going to have to figure out what to do with Lu Dort. You're going to have to figure out what to do with Isaiah Hartenstein, and it's too hard to cram all that in the next month whenever you're talking about trading Lu, integrating in a new player in place of Lu. His salary is to the point that you'd be taking on a longer-term salary and a player who you'd really have to get up to speed. This is whenever they're at their best, this is a pretty complex defensive scheme. He's, of course, one of your best point-of-attack defenders and right in the middle of that and very versatile in that way. You saw him last night defending Lauri Markkanen. Like, this is a guy who it means a lot in terms of the locker room. He's a lot in terms of the personality and relationships on this team. I mean, Trey Mann got traded and this team had a funeral for him at the Thunder Ion. Aaron Wiggins was wearing his practice jersey for like a month straight. Like this team is a very connective team, a very together team. And it would be an emotional blow for this team to lose Lu Dort midseason. And it would be a very uphill battle to get someone in who's going to take on those minutes and take on that workload of Lu Dort. And so it just does not make sense financially. It does not make sense in terms of getting this team better to trade Lu Dort right now. Now, in the summertime, they're going to have to seriously consider trading Lu Dort. I really believe that. I don't know if they're going to or not, but they're going to have to consider it very strongly. But it should not be a consideration between now and February 5th.
Now, Jeremy, the people out there, the Thunder contingency that are wanting to see Lu traded, their biggest reasoning that, from what I've seen, is trying to give more opportunity for Cason Wallace. And I get it. Cason Wallace has been fantastic. I think all three of us have spoke very highly of Cason Wallace at one point or another on this show. But with that said, Jeremy, there's a world where Cason Wallace and Lu Dort can coexist. We've seen it for over 2 years now. I can see giving more minutes and using Cason Wallace more, but that doesn't mean that you have to, send Lu Dort by the wayside either.
Yeah, you definitely can find minutes for Cason Wallace. I mean, and you have to find minutes for him. And Coach Dagnall is extremely smart. They know how to stagger minutes. They can play together some. They got unlimited options on how they can use Cason Wallace more. To have somebody like Cason Wallace, see, he's great because he can start for you, but he can also be that spark plug off the bench. So with Lu Dort starting, he's just beating people up out there, wearing people down, and then you got another person coming in doing the same thing. I just feel like that helps playoff games, and regular season it might not matter as much, but come playoffs, say Lu Dort get a quick 2 fouls, you got somebody in that somebody on the bench that can come in and do the same thing, and then you got Caruso and all them. That's why you have a deep team. Some people not gonna play a lot of minutes every night, and some people will. That's the beauty in having 1 through 15 that can come in and hoop. So I wouldn't trade him to give him more minutes. Now, if he was averaging if Cason Wallace was averaging 8 steals a game, it's all right, now we got to figure something out. But he's a good spark plug off the bench right now. He's young, he's still learning, and one day maybe he will be that starter, moving to that role. But right now they got a good thing going.
Rylan, what do you think Lu's trade value would be. I can't imagine at this point when you talk about his salary and his age now. He's not a spring chicken anymore. I can't imagine there's a ton that you would get for Lu Dort right now on the trade market.
Well, you'd certainly get more for him in June than you would right now, which plays a part into it. It's just much more easy to trade those larger contracts in June whenever the offseason and the new league calendar turns over at the draft. You have more flexibility. You have now, at that point, you'd have 4 months to have a larger roster where you can carry more guys, and you have the year to clean up your books once you make that move, instead of having to make the swap right now and dodging the tax, dodging the aprons, etc. within this short amount of time. Lu I think that right now his value would not be able to net back what you're losing. You would not net a more positive player than Lu Dort because of how hard it is to move on from these contracts in season with the restrictions that teams find themselves saddled up with right now. Whereas in the offseason, you can trade Lu Dort for something of immense value to replace him. I think that, the thing that you would not be looking to do is recreate Lu Dort with a Lu Dort trade. You'd be looking to plug in some of your other holes with a Lu Dort trade and rely on guys like Cason Wallace to step up. And to Jeremy's point, it's not about really who even starts these games. It's about who closes these games. Mark closed last night with Cason Wallace in the fourth quarter and not Lu Dort, despite Lu Dort starting, despite Cason Wallace coming off the bench. So you want to have both these guys in tandem and see who has the hot hand. And I think that a little bit of the trade Lu Dort conversation right now is kind of like the allure of the backup quarterback. It's like, oh, you see Lu Dort missing shots and you're like, oh, well, Cason Wallace is younger. Cason Wallace is no sharpshooter himself. He's not knocking down a plethora of shots. And if he had the Lu Dort volume of shots, you might find yourself in a position where you're upset at Cason Wallace missing shots. So he's kind of a victim of circumstance to that degree. His salary, you could match him for, I've seen people want to trade him for like Michael Porter Jr. or something. That is just a lot to take on at the deadline of Michael Porter Jr. would be a whole new player that this team's never really played with. He would be a defensive liability from what you're losing, and you'd have to work around your defensive schemes that way. And this team would need to right now double down on their strengths, and you can rework yourself with a full offseason, with a full training camp and a full 82-game campaign. Then you can rework your defensive system. Then you can rework your team's identity. But right now, you don't have the time to rework all of that. And I think that this deadline should be a pretty quiet one for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. You're watching the Thunder Squad Show. Tyler Jones, Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb here with you on this Thursday afternoon. Appreciate you joining us, talking about Lu Dort and his future within the organization. Now, Jeremy, let me present you another scenario. We still have a little bit before the trade deadline. If, let's just say, something were to happen to one of the Thunder's key contributors, whether it's SGA, Chet, or J-Dub, God forbid if something happens, is then...
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, yes. Everybody knock on wood. There we go.
And your wood. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. In that scenario, then, does Dort potentially become expendable? Is it, okay, now maybe we need to move on from him to go help us out and to fix another problem? Or does that create another issue potentially?
You saying trade, if a big dog go down, trade him to get another big dog to fill the holes, basically what you're saying?
Yeah, whatever it may be, to go fill the gap of sorts, yes.
Nah. I mean, it depends on what would happen, but at the end of the day, Sam and that organization, they're used to the long game. So if something happens, God forbid, and you gotta build back up, then they'll do that. I don't think they would just make a trade to try to win now. I think they would look at the whole situation and see what they need, what they don't need, and if whoever could come back next year and they'll be back like they never left, and then I think you just continue to compete, continue to get better as a team, make a run, do what you can. If you come short, cool. We'll be working this summer, get right back for next year.
Yeah, We'll see exactly what they do from here, but I would be surprised if Lu Dort's going anywhere at this point in time. We're halfway home here on the Thunder Squad show. J-Dub, he says that he's not worried about this Oklahoma City Thunder team after a tough stretch they went through. We'll tell you what he had to say. We'll react to it. And then later on, rebounding. It's been an issue for Oklahoma City. Rylan says you shouldn't be concerned about it, though. We'll talk about all that and more as we continue here on the Thunder Squad show. Stay with us. This episode is sponsored by Betterhelp. As we roll into the new year, there's a lot of pressure to chase a new you. But sometimes it isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about feeling a little less weighed down. Therapy can help you understand what's been holding you back by giving you an outside perspective on your emotions, motivations, and relationships. And that's why BetterHelp can be such a helpful place to start. Their therapists are fully licensed in the U.S. and work under a strict code of conduct. They help match you with a therapist based on your needs and preferences, so you're not doing all that legwork on your own. BetterHelp has served over 5 million people with more than 30,000 therapists, and live sessions averaged a 4.9 out of 5 rating across more than 1.7 million client reviews. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/NBA. That's BetterHelp.com/NBA. Check it out. Welcome back to the Thunder Squad show. Tyler Jones, Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb back here with you now. In a bit, we're going to talk about the rebounding issues for the Oklahoma City Thunder. But for now, let's tell you about Jalen Williams for a moment. And last night in the 129-125 overtime win, he had 17 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds in the victory. And everybody knows that J-Dub missed a significant amount of time to start the season. And he talked about kind of what's gone on of this stretch where they were struggling for a bit. And here's what he said. I think everything's about perspective. I don't want this to sound cocky, but the last 3 years we've won so much. When we have a normal human stretch of losing a game or two that we shouldn't have lost, the world freaks out. The thing that we do internally that's a good job is just going out there and playing like we're not superheroes. We have human moments. We are human. We get physically and mentally tired just throughout the season. I feel like that kind of showed in that stretch. So, Rylan, one of the things that you brought up on Tuesday's show was that when we were trying to dissect, okay, what's gone on with this Thunder team and the games that they've lost in this stretch, you said that they kind of got bored, that they were checked out a little bit. And based on what J-Dub's saying there, that kind of confirms what you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a real thing that they've had to fight through. And you know, there's a lot of emphasis put on learning how to win for bad teams. There's also a level of learning how to win and handle an NBA season once you've reached that mountaintop. And really keeping into perspective that, like, the stuff you do right now does factor in to you reaching that mountaintop whenever it's so easy to fall into, a form of complacency where it's just like, everyone knows that this team will be judged on what they do in April, May, and June and how this season ends. Even this stretch, for as much as you can complain about this stretch, if they happen to go win the championship, you will either A, laugh about this stretch or not even remember this stretch of basketball as the confetti falls. And they know that. And they know that they will be judged based upon that, however that this season ends. And so you're almost like in a race just to get there, just to get to the playoffs, get to whenever it quote unquote matters. But the habits and the ways that you play and the rhythm that you get into between now and then all really matter. And so you've heard Alex Caruso talk about this and the mindset needing to shift back to what it was a year ago. Whenever last year they truly embodied 1 of 82. They truly embodied that stacking days 0-0 mentality because they were trying each and every night to earn the respect of everybody. And now after a championship, you feel like you have that respect. You feel like, you have made it, and you've got to get back to what got you there in the first place. And so I think that it has been abnormal because you've seen, 3 straight seasons now of a body of work where they haven't gone through ruts like this, where you can pinpoint stuff on effort and on especially their defensive effort, because even whenever they won 57 games and 68 games, like they obviously lost games in those seasons, they didn't go 82-0, but those losses were never tied to the effort. They were never tied to the defense. And now this year they are tied to those things. I think that part of it is you've had injuries, you've had a condensed schedule, you've had a shortened off season, and you've had complacency, and they've got to correct those issues. Only one of them, of course, within their control. Like, they can't help that they got hurt. They can't help that they had the misfortune of having a shortened offseason for the fortune of having a championship, and every team goes through a condensed schedule, so that's not even really an excuse. But they can control their level of complacency, and I think that even that win has shown them that, and I would expect them to, sooner rather than later, turn that around.
Jeremy, you were a highly successful college player, won a national championship. Then you made the transition to the NBA and playing 82 games. I mean, the college schedule is a decent number of games, but in the NBA, you're playing 82 and then a postseason to follow. I mean, that's just a long stretch, especially for a team that wins so much as they do. I think he's spot on. Like, hey, we're not superheroes. We're human just like everybody else. There's peaks and valleys to this.
Yeah, when you're a great team, one loss feels like 10 losses. When the more even if you don't lose and you just have a close game with somebody, it feels like you lost. So they're held to a different standard. And like you said, the difference in college and the NBA, the games, the rehab, the just all the pressure, all the load you put on your body is just totally different, and not just physically, mentally. So when he was saying, we're not worried, I wouldn't be worried either, just because I know they're approaching it the right way. They're not just like, oh, we only lost 7 games, we got out to a good start, we good. Nah, they trying to learn from wins and losses. So the fact that they're still learning from it, they're gonna be fine. And to Rylan's point, they only gonna be remembered of what they do in the playoffs. And even if they win, they're not going to remember this. And even if they lose in the playoffs, nobody's going to be like, well, you remember earlier in the season, they lost 2 games. And they know that. So, they're going to continue to work on their game. But at the end of the day, yeah, as long as they're learning from it, and Coach Dagenau know what he's doing. He's going to make sure they learn the lessons that they need to learn. He's going to make sure everybody is ready to play. And, they've done that all year. So, yeah, they went on a 2-game losing streak. All right, cool. They back in the winning column. Let's rack up some wins. But, yeah, they shouldn't be worried. All they should do is just learn from it and just continue to get better.
Rylan, in this stretch where, they didn't necessarily play their best, of course, with those games that lost, the saying goes that you learn more from losses than you do from winning. What do you think this Thunder team has learned from this stretch over the last couple of weeks here?
Yeah, I think that they've learned to get back to their regularly scheduled approach of being the first team to punch, of expecting everybody's best effort, even from bottom feeding teams all the way to the top of the NBA. You're going to get everybody's best effort. Whereas, there were nights last year where even the best teams in basketball came in to the Paycom Center, didn't give their best stuff, didn't really care about playing this game. Whereas now, every win against this team feels like a statement. And to Jeremy's point, even the wins that the Thunder get, last year we'd be talking about like, this team just find ways to win. I mean, Shai was awesome. This team found a way to win. They didn't have their best stuff, but they got the win. That's what we'd be saying last year about this win against Utah. This year, it's like they're still playing bad. They barely escaped the Utah Jazz. And you are just held to a different standard. And I think that this young team who has handled everything to this point with uncommon maturity is finally showing their inexperience of just they don't know what it's like to be taken seriously every single night. And it's a good problem to have, but they have it now, and they've got to learn from that. And they've got to learn that, like, teams are no longer just going to pack it in. Like last year, The Jazz get down 20 to the Thunder last year in OKC, playing their third game in 4 nights. They're just going to pack it in and go home. This year, they kept punching, they kept trying to fight, and that's just the difference in what these years bring. And it's not a poor, pitiful Thunder problem. Look at the Thunder. Last year, they treated every game the same, except for those 2 Boston games. Those 2 Boston games, you go back and watch it, they had a different level of energy. They had a different level of intensity. They were both on national television. They were trying to make a statement. And like Caruso said last year, they're trying to garner some respect for a team that was kind of put in the corner as a cute little story, even as they won 68 games. This year, they're that team that everyone's trying to get up for and everybody's trying to make a statement against.
Yeah, and they're getting everybody's best and certainly makes for a challenge night in and night out to this point. With that said, Jeremy, I got to tell you, going back to where we started with J-Dub's statement, he's always one to kind of keep it real. He's the most vocal guy in this Thunder team. I appreciate Jeremy that he's just being honest. He's like, look, this is just what happened. He's not beating around the bush. He's not making excuses. That's a good leader right there. If somebody's saying like, hey, this is what went down.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta just accept it. Sometimes when we would lose, people would be mad, like, come on, man, we gotta be better. Sometimes we'll win. It's like, man, we ain't played like we were supposed to. But sometimes you get beat and you just gotta be like, they played better than us, or it's games that we won. And it's like, we didn't play well. The only reason we won that game is because we're better than them. We can't play like that, So I think some of the games, they got to look in the mirror. But yeah, a couple of them, it's like, yeah, they was better than us tonight. They got to take that L, and now it's back to the drawing board. It's not, like I said, it's not 10 losses. If you lose by 40. It's still 1 loss. It might feel terrible, feel like, man, it's 5-10 loss. No, it's only 1 loss, and it's not a huge deal. You just gotta make sure you learn from it. But I think they'll definitely be fine. But you have to make sure that you just staying locked in through the regular season, because you can easily drop a couple here and there. The next thing you know, you've lost more games than you want. People are on your heels. You don't realize how close it is, and now you're coming down to the end, trying to grind out some games just to be the number 1 seed. So as long as they stay focused, they'll be fine.
Rylan, speaking of Jalen Williams here, while we're on the topic of him for a moment, right now averaging about 17 points a game, 5 rebounds, close to 6 assists, shooting about 46%. What do you think of the way J-Dub's played as of late here at this point, Rylan?
Yes, it's obviously been difficult for him, and he's still trying to find his way back to the all-star, all-NBA player that he was a year ago, and that's to be expected. This was a major surgery that had a setback follow-up operation to remove screws in his wrists, and you can just tell he's talked about having to change his shot a little bit without the benefit of a training camp, without the benefit of a ton of practices. You can tell that the range of motion and the fluidity of his wrist movement is just a little stiffer right now, and that's impacted his shot. It's impacted his handle, and you just have to grit and bear it and hope that in 4 months from now, he'll be able to perform and he'll be able to feel a lot better with more reps. And it is a bit of a catch-22 where it's like sitting out doesn't do anything to help him. He needs the reps, and even if they look messy at times, he needs to continue to work his way back into form and live with what Mark would call his new normal, live with what it feels like and how he needs to alter his shot again moving forward, of like what movements he can and can't get to with his wrist. So it of course has not been pretty or smooth for him, but the benefit for OKC is you do have 4 months to try to get him right. Yeah,
you have 4 months, and we'll see what they can potentially do from there. Still plenty of time for J-Dub as far as that goes. Fine. Wrap up here on this Thursday edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Rebounding. It's been an issue for Oklahoma City, but Rylan Stiles is going to tell you why it's not that big of an issue for this team. We'll explain more in our final segment right here on the Thunder Squad Show. Stay with us. The wildcard round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like the most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game days and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet on something new. You make your picks, then apply your profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL game day. Final segment before we go here on this edition of the Thunder Squad Show. Tyler Jones, Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb back here with you now. The Thunder have struggled as of late when it comes to rebounding. And a big part of that, of course, has to do with the absence of Isaiah Hartenstein. You look at the numbers last night for Oklahoma City. They were able to bring in 51 total rebounds, but out rebounded 65 to 51, a 14 difference between the two, 14 rebound difference between Utah and Oklahoma City with that advantage to Utah. Rylan, should there be much of a concern when it comes to rebounding, or is a lot of this going to be fixed just with the return of Isaiah Hartenstein here?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any concern with the rebounding. They have gotten crushed on the glass in this recent stretch. I mean, the Phoenix Suns crushed them even in that narrow win. The Hornets crushed them. The Suns, the Jazz crushed them. It's been bad rebounding the basketball, but they have $30 million in street clothes right now. That is like the main reason why they're there to rebound the ball. And this is nothing new. Like this team, whenever Chet Holmgren was the lone big on their roster, could not rebound the ball very well, especially whenever he was out of the game. That's why they went and got Isaiah Hartenstein. And back then, your backup was Jay Will. Now your backup is Brandon Carlson. You're without Jay Will and Isaiah Hartenstein, and Brandon Carlson just does not have it. I mean, he just doesn't. And I think that whenever you look at it, Chet Holmgren has really improved with his strength. He's really improved his physicality. Last night, he was moving guys out of the way. He got his fair share of the rebounds, but he was moving guys out of the way. The ball would hit the deck, and the Jazz are the first to the ball. His teammates were not flying in, helping him gather up those rebounds, and that's a problem. Whereas when Isaiah Hartenstein's healthy, he's there to help them get those rebounds and help Chet get those rebounds and clear the way for these long bounces to go their way. So it's been a problem for OKC, but that problem has its elixirs on the bench right now with Isaiah Hartenstein, with Jay Will pushing Carlson out of the rotation. It's going to get better so long as those two guys get healthy. And if those two guys don't get healthy, well, then, yeah, they're not going to be able to rebound the ball. They couldn't rebound the ball whenever they just had Chet and Jay Will, much less Chet and Carlson.
Right. Jeremy, the rebounding issues, what say you? Cause for concern right now or not?
Nah, that's no concern. I mean, OKC, they force a lot of long bounces. So the other team is definitely going to get some offensive rebounds. It's just inevitable. They've been missing a lot of open shots. You know, I forget what they shoot from three last
18%.
night. 18%. So that's a lot of rebounds for the other team, you know, right there. If they had made 8 more threes, 9 more threes, got up to maybe 37, 38%, somewhere around there, it wouldn't be as much of a defensive, as of a rebounding difference, but maybe a little concern right now in terms of just, you got to tell your team, look, it's a total team, got to rebound. At times they're out there with a small lineup. Everybody got to rebound. You can't just, contest and run out and try to get, an easy bucket. Everybody got to come back. And I think when they focus on those, those small things, everybody coming back to rebound, you find a man, I think they'll be fine. But yeah, in the long run, if you don't get your big guys back, you might worry about that later. But right now, no, everybody just got to hit their man. It's got to be a total team, effort. 5 guys got a rebound, not worrying about, the tallest guy on there just grabbing the ball and going. Everybody got a rebound, and, they pay attention to detail. Yeah, it's nothing to worry about.
Rylan, we mentioned Hartenstein. When iHeart gets back, how much does that help things for Oklahoma City when it comes to the rebounding effort? What kind of difference does he make up for what they're missing right now?
Yeah, it's a huge difference. I mean, they don't have a single player on the roster that can replicate what he can physically do. Not only does he have the size for it, but he has the size to put against other bodies and let Chet get even more rebounds and let those bounces go your way with his positioning, with his box out ability, and his physicality to just go up and get him with a contested rebound. And that makes things look a lot smoother whenever those bounces go your way. To Jeremy's point, the only concern is the complacency that plagues this whole team in every aspect of the game, where like Chet was also creating some long rebounds and bounces, but J-Dub standing out of bounds, watching the result of the shot and not getting in position to get it in case they miss, just kind of waiting around to see if the shot's going to miss or not. You can't be waiting around. It is going to take a team effort. And you know that whenever you don't have iHeart and J-Will, that's what it's going to take. And they didn't execute that last night. And so I think that iHeart, it's a lot like what happened last year at the trade deadline too. The reason why you feel so comfortable with a quiet trade deadline is like last year, your trade deadline quote unquote addition was just getting Chet Holmgren back from a fractured hip. This year, around the trade deadline, they're going to be getting back Isaiah Hartenstein, who alleviates rebounding concerns, whose playmaking and passing ability throws guys open and helps you in the non-Shea minutes get more cohesive offense and get better shot quality. His screen setting ability helps J-Dub get to the rim and score. The only area on the court where he can score right now as he's dealing with the remnants of that wrist surgery. You're going to get a huge piece back in Isaiah Hartenstein. J-Will gives you another body to where you don't have to play Carlson and don't have to go small as much. And then J-Dub, hopefully in 4 months from now, will look like a completely new player. And so that's another addition to this team that they don't have right now is J-Dub back to form. But iHeart on the glass, he's the best rebounder on the team by a wide margin. It's why you paid him almost $30 million to come in here and be a rebounder, be a bruiser, be an enforcer. He's the only player on the roster that is a traditional center. J-Will's not, Chet's not, Carlson's not, Kenrich is not, obviously. He's the only guy. And it's like he's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, it is. And, knock on wood one more time, everybody, on the injury front. I was thinking about this, Jeremy. As Rylan mentions, around the trade deadline, you come February and you get iHeart back, and let's assume everyone else gets healthy and stays healthy. That's where the knock on the wood part comes in, with Shai and J-Dub and Chet and everything. Like that 2-month stretch before playoff time, Jeremy, is going to be so vital to make sure this team is in sync. They're gelling. Like that'll be a good stretch for this team to dot their I's, cross their T's, make sure all their ducks are in a row before playoff time. I mean, Chet and iHeart, we've talked about this before, have not actually played together all that much in these last 2 seasons. If we're talking about trade deadline to the end of the regular season, that's a vital time for this team to get it all figured out here.
Oh yeah, going into the playoffs, that month and a half, 2 months is always huge for teams. You definitely want to be playing your best basketball later. So I like that they're going through a little something right now. So that I think the biggest thing they're learning from it is that they can be beat. Sometimes when you win game after game after game, you taking people's heart, you really start to feel like, man, ain't nobody gonna beat us. But now they realize we can be beat. So that 2 months, everybody's starting to gel, everybody back full strength, getting ready for a playoff run. Yeah, that's going to be a huge time for the team. And yeah, hopefully everybody can come back. They get back to a consistent lineup. People start knowing how many minutes they're going to play. That's huge. Going into games, knowing exactly what your role is. Sometimes people don't know right now just because of injuries and, different things. So once they get a little more consistency with the different teams, and also they got to realize too, right now, teams know every team in the league is scouting them. Everybody advanced scouting them, trying to figure out how can we beat these guys? What are their weaknesses? And right now, a weakness is rebounding. They are definitely good in transition when they steal the ball, but not necessarily on defensive rebounds. So I'm pretty sure their coach is saying, look, go to the offensive boards. Go to the offensive boards because they can't rebound, and you don't got to be so scared about the outlet because they're not as fast off defensive rebounds as they are still. So take care of the ball, go to the offensive rebounds, and now they see, okay, this is what the scouting report is. Now we got to crack down on certain areas. So as they going through the season, they're going to realize like, okay, this is where teams are trying to hit us where it hurts. This is what we got to do better at. This is where, this is the only way teams can beat us if we give this up. They're going to learn all that just going through the season. So this is a good stretch for them. And like you said, that 2 months is going to be huge for the big to big lineup, small ball lineup. They're going to see it all, and it's just going to get them ready.
Rylan, over the next couple months for Oklahoma City, besides rebounding, what do you think are going to be the specifics that this team works on to kind of polish up things as they get ready for that postseason run?
Well, I think that one of the things that they have to do is get back to their defensive identity they have to double down on being an elite defense. And right now, they're at best a good defense. They're not playing anywhere near an elite defense. And you can argue that over this last 13-game sample size, they're a below-average defense. And that just can't happen. That's not how this team is designed to win games at any level, much less a championship level. So they're going to have to get back to their defensive calling card in a big way. You can talk about the three-point shooting. It is what it is. I mean, the three-point shooting started out the year as the very worst team in the NBA from three. They climbed up to fifth best from three. They're a very streaky bunch, and they're going through an exceptionally cold stretch yet again. And you have to hope that you'll get the shot luck in the postseason. You didn't get it last year and still won. But it really comes down to their defense has to be better, and J-Dub has to be better. And the J-Dub part is the only part that is concerning, because I think that we can all agree that the defense will be better. Like they just didn't forget how to play defense. They didn't forget how to give effort. And in the biggest games, there's going to be no question about their effort. But with J-Dub, it's really out of everybody's control, including J-Dub. It's just, can he get healthy in 4 months from now to the point that he can physically play at the level that he needs to? And we don't know if he will or won't. I don't think that J-Dub knows if he will or won't be at that level yet. So can he physically get back to the player that he used to be? And Jeremy, you've seen teams even in Oklahoma City go through injuries and have years that we had a shot, but man, we just couldn't get healthy at the right time, couldn't get productive at the right time. Let's run it back next year and see, if the injury luck's on our side this time. So, it's going to come down to the defense and J-Dub, and one of those things is in their control. One of those things has zero concern. J-Dub, you can be concerned about. I'm banking on J-Dub being better in 4 months, to be clear, because if you guys remember, he tore his ligaments in his wrist with 2 games to go in the regular season. And it took him 2 weeks to get the injections, get the rehab, and rework his shot and be a very impactful player come the playoffs. If he can do that in 2 weeks, you have to hope and bet on that in 4 months he can figure that out as well.
Yeah, you would think so. We'll see how it all plays out going forward from here. Thanks for tuning in to the Locked On Thunder podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow the Locked On Thunder podcast so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get the Locked On Thunder podcast ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. All you have to do, folks, is head over to lockedonthunder.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. All right, we got just about another minute here. Jeremy, real quick, final thoughts before we go here. Overall, just anything you want to add or anything before we get out of here today on this Thunder team?
None in particular, just another good show. I'm excited to see what the Thunder end up doing in their next couple games, if they can stay focused or if they just trying to jump straight to Wemby and putting a hurting on them, try to show people that they still here. But I'm just excited to see the season. I'm excited to see who the All-Star, the second All-Star will be if Chet would get in. Shai gonna get in there. So yeah, just excited about the season, and we'll see how it goes.
Rylan, we're done with this show today, back on Tuesday, but you'll have more throughout the next few days.
That's right. We'll have Justin Martinez on from the Oklahoman on Friday morning to get you set for a big week ahead. And, of course, on Saturday, we'll recap that Grizzlies game. Monday, recapping that Heat game. And then Tuesday, this show back in action ahead of that Spurs game, the best pregame show for that Spurs game possible here live on the Locked On Thunder Squad show on Tuesday. So can't wait for that one as well.
Can't wait. That does it for us here on the Thunder Squad show. Make sure to subscribe and on all podcast platforms, also on YouTube as well. And we'll see you right back here next week. For Jeremy Lamb, Rylan Stiles, I'm Tyler Jones saying so long. Have a great weekend, everybody.